And ladies, please, the floor is yours.
Cristina, you're muted, love.
Thank you. Sorry. I'm going to go first. Just give me one moment. I'm going to share my screen. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you. And we see you.
Okay, thanks. Great. Now I can get started. All right, so I'm Cristina Ramos. I'm going to be sharing with you Doula Business 101.2. I was talking to Shani and Lorraine and Jodi discussing why I did 101.2 and not 101.1, because I feel like the foundation should be set before you do a lot of these things, including like how are you formatting for registering your business? How are you going to be filing your taxes and all of those things? So I'm just lightly touching on a lot of things that I think should be incorporated. Welcome. Thank you all for being here and sharing this time with us. What we're going to cover: services, meet all the people, expansion and growth, code of ethics, the socials, backups, contracts, screening your clients, mentorship, strategy, and goals. This is me. I've been doing this work for over 10 years now, and ancestrally trained before I was trained with organizations, and I've trained with over 3 currently, and I do a lot of other things. I'm a mentor with the DLC. If you'd love to know more about me, you're welcome to reach out to me. Some things about me: I love to cook for the people I love, and if I've ever made you a dish or ordered you food, I definitely love you. I'm also a Bronx native. Let's go over services and meeting the people. So I think a really important thing is to determine the services that you want to offer in your community. Typically, we offer guidance on pregnancy, newborn behavior, postpartum, breastfeeding, and then sometimes general infant care, education, practical support sometimes depending on the kind of doula you are, and of course, resources. But if you have other certifications or degrees that make you stand out, you can be an LCSW, an herbalist, a placenta encapsulator, any of those things. Reiki instructor, massage therapist. These are all additional services that you can add and charge for. Add them to packages or add them a la carte. So make it known what you're doing, what you're certifying in. And also, if you aren't certifying in these other things, or if you are, think about planning strategically where you want to be in your niche, who you want to work with, and the type of doula you want to be. Meet the people. I mean, we're out of the pandemic now. I want everybody to think about meeting each other in person. I mean, this is always fun and safe, but meeting each other in person really fosters a good relationship. And those are the things that I feel like I nurtured later on in my career that I didn't know existed. So I'm glad you're all here in community, but get to know other midwives, go to the birth centers, go to open houses, talk to pediatricians, lactation professionals, get out there and really be a part of the community to be able to establish those connections. We all have codes of ethics from our certifying bodies, but I want everyone to think about their own code and what are things they will not do, and who they're choosing to support, who they can support, refer out when you can't, or add people to your group. But know your code, what you're willing to do, what's your own ethics, and where you lie will lead you to your people. Let's get paid. I think this is a #1 question I get asked a lot. How much should I charge? And I think for me, it was a lot different. I didn't really do much research of what everyone else was charging when I established my rates. I established what I wanted to get paid an hour to be able to do this work for me. I wanted to establish my rates. I included childcare and all of the other things that I knew would come out of my check if I was working for someone else, and I incorporated that into my rate, and someone else will be talking more about that. But do look into and do market research, I would say, and really find out, like, why are you doing this and what's your worth? Let's talk about backups. Choosing your backup and having a backup is critical. I think it is your obligation. When you're supporting these families, they are trusting you and believing that you're going to be there when you say you're going to be there. So if you have an emergency, you absolutely should have someone who's going to be backing you up. Meet the local doulas that support the area you service. Those are a great way to find your backup. Networking, go back to that and find out who's in your area. Your compensation for your backup. You should have compensation already agreed upon after meeting them and discussing with them that you'd like them to be your backup. And pay them their retainer and pay them if you think they're actually going to be the backup for that birth. Like you're a really strong backup, meaning you will probably have this birth. Also discuss that compensation. Protect your neck. I'm talking about your contract. I really want you to think about your contract, maybe get it reviewed by someone you trust. If you can afford a lawyer, that would be great too. I used to not have a contract, and we all get burned and figure out that that's not the best way to run a business. Also to protect yourself and your assets. So, I mean, it also establishes your agreed upon services. It discloses your rates. It guarantees your client that you're available to them, and it gives you a guaranteed income, and also really allows you to say yes or no when you're picking your clients. So that really segues into screening them. I want everybody to think about your service as something that comes from your heart, right? This is why we do this work. Who you allow into that space is very important. And I screen my clients. I look up their social media. I want to know if we're really going to click. Is this a good client for me? I check up their other social medias just to see what they're up to. When did they get married? What does their partner look like? So I'm not blindsided either. And also ask the harder questions, like, they're not really that hard, but make sure you ask if they have pets, if you're allergic to pets, if you are afraid of any kinds of pets. I want you to, again, remember that you are also interviewing your clients to be your clients. The socials. I think we forget it's supposed to be fun. It's really overwhelming for me. So someone else does it. I do not do most of our social media at all. So that's one thing you can always outsource it. Sharing information should be engaging and fun. But don't overdo it on your social media. Schedule your things out. There are lots of apps that will schedule things for you. And your website is a part of your social media presence. So remember to continue to update so your SEO is much better. You get at the top of the list. All right. Mentorship. I think it's important for everyone to take a business class or find a mentor because it gives you more information. It gives you more leverage in your field. You have two brains instead of one. It connects you with a lot more people than you would have been connected to if you didn't have a mentor. You can work with a DLC, but you can also find a mentor, a SCORE mentor, through the SBA, the Small Business Association. So if you've never run a business or have lots of questions about legalities, accounting, websites, all of the things that we all have questions about, your mentor can either guide you in the right direction or help you. So I think any DLC mentor would, you can vet them and see who works well with you, or a SCORE mentor would be good. I think also checking in with your strategy and goals. So we're about to finish 2022. I already started thinking about 2023 in Q1 and Q2. So maybe that's something that everyone should really think about, is strategically planning where you want to be in the next 3 months and what your goal is for rates, what your goal is for classes, what your goal is for reaching people in community, raising funds for people. Like, you can create strategies and goals. I have Excel sheets, which are so archaic, but they help me really check in to see what works and what doesn't. Going to a local doctor's office really doesn't do anything for my marketing currently, but I know that because I checked in with my strategies and my goals and what I was doing previously with my marketing, my networking, and social media. If I didn't track it, I would have no idea that sending, lunch there or sending my brochures there was a waste of time and money. And I should send it to another facility that's maybe further away, but I definitely get more business. And then repeat. If it works, keep repeating it. Keep repeating it. Keep repeating it. You will continue to meet your goals. And this is my information. I know I had a lot more time than this, maybe. I really wanted to save time for Q&A. So if you want to reach out to me, here's my information. I would love to talk to you. I'm just going to open the floor to start the conversation.
I have a question. I thought it was interesting how you said that where your market is, right? That doctor's offices don't work for you, and being able to track what does work for you. What made you even think about that? Or how did you even track that?
I have an Excel sheet. I could share it with you. I just mark who I sent stuff to, who I met. If I did a fair years ago, I have old ones. If I did a community fair years ago, I just put in, like, I did a community fair, brought this many brochures and flyers, and then I check how much I came home with. Yes, I'm sorry, I was reading and I got distracted. And then I could really see what was beneficial for me. I love going to the community events. So I know that it doesn't matter. I'm going to enjoy it regardless. It's worth it for me to go. I would get a table. I would sponsor them. All of that I don't mind doing regardless of the return for me, because the return I experience is internal, not really monetary. But like me sending a doctor's office lunch, I need to know if that $150, $200 for the entire staff to get lunch is really going to be beneficial to me. If I don't even get one client out of that for 3 months, I'm good. I'm not sending y'all nothing. You might get like a card for Christmas, but I really wanted to see what was going to be the bang for my buck. That's what really made me start doing it. I didn't have a lot of funds.
Thank you. In the chat, we have earlier Lorraine said, don't be afraid to reject the client and pass them on to another doula who may be suitable for this person. If you take on a client that you aren't aligned with, it may result in unsatisfaction, poor reviews, requests for refunds, definitely. Jodi followed up with, I'm not the doula they're looking for, can be a statement of self-love that creates a better experience for everyone involved. It's super hard to tell someone you're not taking them as a client, but it's easier than talking them through a disappointing experience later, for sure. And Violet asked, what's a good way to figure out how much to provide your backup for a retainer?
I can ask how I did it. I just asked around, and I also asked that particular backup what was sufficient for them for the retainer. I fully disclose my rates. They're aware of how much I charge, and they would be aware of how much the client purchased my package for. And then we decide either individually based on their experience, how much their rates are, how much it costs them to come to me, how much their share would be for the birth. Anybody else can share how they do it.
Thank you, Cristina. Lorraine, I believe you were going to talk more about that, right?
Yeah, I will later on.
Oh, well, actually, now is later. So, Lorraine, welcome to take the floor.
Oh, okay. So if you have a backup doula, sort of what Cristina was saying, just sort of ask them what they would like. So I know I was a backup doula for a client once, and they just asked me, they said, hey, I have a client. Is it okay if I send you $100 right now? And if you are called in on this day, I'll pay you $50 an hour. And I was like, okay. So I don't think there's any like set rules about how to like pay a backup, but just figure out what works for both parties. Have that discussion.
Thank you, Lorraine. So I just went ahead and made you co-host.
Am I going next or Jodi?
I think we had said that I was going second, but I don't mind if you're ready. I can go too. I don't have slides.
All right. Jodi, go ahead then.
Okay. I have very little to add. I mean, Christina's amazing. She's a hard act to follow, right? But some of the things that have come up, since we are talking about backup, I will second that backup has been worked out differently depending on who the backup is, on how far they need to travel, on how regularly we back up for each other and what those arrangements are. I have one backup who's done work with me for 10 years. I don't think we've ever had more than $50 exchange hands, because we would be giving the same back and forth all the time, because I'm available if she has a dentist appointment, or she's available if I need to step away for an hour, whatever that is. And then there are other times where if somebody knows for sure they're going to be sharing call, we have a deal that they are going to make X amount for just attending one prenatal visit with me. There's going to be a minimum of $100 if I call them and get them out of bed, and then $50 an hour on top of that, up to half my fee. And it's going to depend on what works for each individual. Thank you, Shani. So when we talk about building the business as a doula, once you've got all of your pieces in place, you've established your business name, you've established your record keeping, you've established how you're going to be filing your taxes, and you're really looking at how you're growing your business. A great place to start is knowing exactly what your goals are. I used to be neighbors with a pilot. Gary Holverson with American Airlines was my next door neighbor. And one of the things that I learned from Gary, he said it in reference to parenting, but it works just as well with doula work. Did you know that major aircraft are off course about 80% of the time that they're in the air? I didn't know that. But they really are. Like, they program it like we program the GPS in the phone or in the car. They have sat nav systems in the plane. They put it in, and as it's going, it adjusts for wind resistance. It adjusts for other flights that are going on. And if we look on a map, they are off of their trajectory about 80% of the time. And yet they still get to where we're going because they begin with the end in mind. So as you build your doula business, I encourage you, begin with the end in mind. What are you building here? Because if you don't know what it is you're building, how do you know when you've done it? Right? So start with, what do you really want to have happen? If you want to build a thriving private practice as a labor doula, put that in writing. In 1 year, I intend to support 50 pregnant families in Southern New Jersey with prenatal services for birth and postpartum. If you're really wanting to build a thriving practice as a childbirth educator, what does that look like? How do you know when you've done it? What does a thriving childbirth practice look like? Put that in writing and check in with yourself. What are your 1-year goals? Make them specific. Give them values so that you know when you're staying on track with it. Your 1-year goals, your 5-year goals, and your 10-year goals. I will say, and I've said this on training calls, if you've been on Southern New Jersey training calls with me, that the Community Doulas of South Jersey began now 12 years ago in writing on a vision board, and Medicaid enrolled support for doula services began 10 years ago in writing in a journal. So know what your goals are, put them in solid words, and check in with yourself periodically to see how that's going. Some people come into birth work and they want to do all of the things all at once. And so they kind of throw all of the spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, right? I'm going to start teaching childbirth classes, and I'm going to take on doula clients, and I'm going to do belly casting, and I'm going to do birth art, and I'm going to do placenta encapsulation, and they end up being so diffusely spread that none of the areas where they have their goals get their focus and attention long enough to be built in a successful and thriving way. So know where your goals are, know what they are. Of course, it's okay to adjust them on the way as need be. And then as you work on your networking, one of the things that many doulas have found to be effective is building a relationship-based practice, because the truth is our social media veneer can be beautifully shiny, but if we have not invested the work in building relationship-based practice, we're doing ourselves and our clients that disservice. A relationship-based practice results in physicians who recommend your services to their patients and midwives who are comfortable matching their pregnant people with you as their doula, because you've built a relationship together, and they are confident that not only will you serve this person well, but you will serve well every person who comes through their practice from that point onward as they continue to send clients your way. And relationship building in practice may look a little slower than doing mass marketing, but in the long term, it's more effective, because the easiest way to build client rapport is word of mouth. If you can build word of mouth and you can get word of mouth referrals, you can build a business on a strong relationship-based reputation. This works in client-facing relationships, and it works in our professional-facing relationships with providers and hospitals. I want to go to Christina's point. Sometimes you can give a lunch and learn to a doctor's office and never hear a single thing ever again. So you can start by sending out small feelers and see what you hear. One example I can give of this, when my daughter was about 5 years old, on Take Your Daughter to Work Day, which is now Take Your Child to Work Day, we had doulas and donuts. That was our deal. We went to the bakery, we got 5 boxes of donuts, and we drove around to the OB practices that I work with most often that I would like to see more of. And I walked into their office with my 5-year-old and dropped off a box of donuts with my business card taped to the top and more of my cards in an envelope right there next to the box. And the ones that I heard back from were ones who continued to receive my attention. And so we'd drop off Halloween pumpkins full of candy, or the occasional visit that we would, with small treats. This does not need to be a big $200 thing. It's a box of donuts and a couple of minutes of your time to do. And never underestimate the power of a well-timed thank you note. I know this is going old school. I'm about to make everybody's grandmother so happy, but it's absolutely true. People who work in the birth world, people who work in labor and delivery, see people at their most raw, at their most vulnerable, when we are the least likely to remember our pleases and thank yous. And when somebody pauses to say, hey, that was a really nice thing you did. Thank you for that. That is memorable. And that goes a long way. So just a thank you note to the doctor's office. Dear Dr. Murphy, last Tuesday, I got to meet you at my client Sherry's birth and give a specific example of a thing that they did. If you can, that you took those few extra minutes to sit down and have a conversation with us made her feel safe and gave me confidence that her care was in excellent hands. I really look forward to the next time we get to work together. Put your business card in the envelope. You are going to hear from that practice again. And this can also hold true when there has been tension with a provider. Sometimes the time to address it isn't in the heat of the moment if the client is happy, but it can be later. Once upon a time, I wrote a doctor a letter correcting something that he thought I had done incorrectly. And I included a copy of the scope of practice of my certifying organization. And I said, here's the scope of practice of my certifying organization. If I ever do any of these things, I want you to tell me, and don't you just tell me, here's the 800 number to the office. I want you to call them and tell them that that's what I did, because I shouldn't be doing this if I'm doing it that way. I got a thank you call. I got referrals for practice for the next 12 years until he retired. Personal relationship, personal connection. If you send a thank you note to a hospital and you say something nice about a nurse that worked with your client, that goes in her permanent file in HR. And over time, if you become the doula who send nice notes about people, they're going to know you when you step in the hallway, and you may not know it, but they're going to have conversations at the nurses hub about whose room you get to be in. All right, build the relationship-based practice, and it really helps build the practice that you're going to build. In your online networking, in your marketing, consider on two levels, your horizontal marketing and your vertical marketing. Your horizontal marketing, this is where you're going to meet the people that help hold you up. This is the community events where you're going to meet other doulas and childbirth educators. This is the health fairs where maybe you'll meet colleagues in the community that you have connection with. They're not super likely to grow your business because they are looking for the same people you are. However, they are the people who are going to help sustain you, because this is where your backup is going to come from. This might be where you meet the childbirth educators that you're able to send your pregnant people to for their classes. They might offer services that are complementary to services you offer, and you can exchange referrals together. The ones that are going to build your business are your vertical networking. Reach up. Who has contact with more pregnant people than you do? Who's not going to be offering them the same things you are? That's your vertical networking. Reach up to the people who have contact with more pregnant people than you do, who are not offering the same services that you are offering. This might be chiropractors who specialize in prenatal care. This might be other wellness experts who have emphasis in prenatal health. Maybe it is the childbirth educator who teaches 300 classes a year, who loves to give referrals to doulas. Can you have a cup of coffee together? Get to know each other? Send a couple of people their way and see if they want to do that in a reciprocal way, because that's the kind of networking that can help build. On your social media, consider, just as Cristina said, who are you looking for and how will they find you? In your business names, the best piece of advice I can give, consider your business name. What are people going to be Googling when they are looking for you? How do you make it easy? If they're looking for a doula in New Jersey, do you have doula in New Jersey somewhere in your profile so that those keywords are going to get their attention? Is your business called South Jersey Doulas? Mine is, yours probably isn't. Do you have a business name that people are going to be Googling to find you? Sometimes people will go for business names that sound pretty. They've got some aesthetic charm to them, but nobody is going to be looking for Fuzzy Wuzzy Baby Lou Birth Services, right? They're going to be looking for Pennsylvania Doula. So keep this in mind when you name your business and when you're doing your marketing, and keep in mind what you put on your social media pages. If your social media page, if I go to your social media page right now, let's say I'm having my second baby. We just went back in the Wayback Machine 30 years, y'all. I'm having my second baby and I'm looking for a doula. I go to your Facebook page and I don't see anything that is relevant to my life. You're probably not going to be my doula. That's probably not the call I'm going to make. But if I go to your Facebook page and hey, that's a pretty cool family festival that's going on next weekend that you posted about, I might actually want to check that out. Or you've got a really cool thing that's this mommy and me that's going on at that library. That library is 20 minutes from my house. I would love to do that. That's a great idea. Oh, that recipe for snack ideas that you've got going on that I can do with a baby in one arm. I'm all about that. 80% of your social media page needs to be relevant to the family that you are serving and what they are looking for, not about your business. 20% or fewer of your posts should be about your business or about the business services that you offer, and 80% should be lifestyle interest relevant to the personal interests of the people who are looking for you, including your location and where you serve. Yes, I see you in the chat, Lorraine, absolutely. Putting your specific counties, languages that you mentioned, skill sets that you offer, specific relevance that you offer to your clients, include that in that, and also include things that are going to be relevant to their interests, that are relatable to the life that they are living, because that's how they're going to know that you're the doula for them. Not because you posted 100 pictures of a conference that you went to, but because you are relating to the life that they are living when they are looking for you. And a word about social media. Let's be ever so very mindful of people's privacy, please. We don't talk a whole lot about HIPAA in the doula world, but let's do for just a second. There's a trend that's been going on for a few years now that several businesses have picked up on, and I've noticed it gaining popularity here on the East Coast, especially, I think, because we have a couple of popular business owners who do it. Well, they'll post something to the effect of, baby number 232 coming on this rainy Tuesday, go hashtag business brand name. Let's talk for a minute. I get why this looks like a good idea, right? Enthusiasm, excitement. We all get excited about going to births. Why is this dangerous? Ah, yes. Social media reference. Thank you for that, Cristina. So let's say that Shani is having a baby, and I am Shani's doula, and I am so happy to be her doula, and everybody knows, right? I do not have to say anything more than, it's a beautiful day to get born. And Shani's friend, who knows that I'm her doula, sees beautiful day to get born on my Instagram page and can put two and two together pretty quickly. And now they know that their friend is in labor and their friend was not the one to break the news to them. The world is small and social media is making it smaller. Someone's birth story is their own to share, full stop. Their birth story is their own to share, and anything that we may say that is a matter of their privacy takes away from them the right to share their own story. I hope that my clients think that I was the right doula for them. I hope they think that I did a good job. And I hope that if they feel that way, they're going to be willing to say something about it themselves. They're going to say, Jodi was my doula. She did a great job. I highly recommend her. Here's her name and number, without my ever giving the count of how many births I've attended or where I am that day or whose privacy is not being respected in that moment. And with that, my time is up. So that is the parting thought that I will leave us. And thanks for the time.
Thank you, Jodi. That was just very beautiful put. Articulated the last part. Does anyone have any questions for Jodi?
Yes, thank you, Jodi.
Alrighty. So we're gonna go ahead and give Lorraine the floor now. If anyone has any questions as we go through the rest of the Lunch and Learn, just drop them in the chat and I'll definitely attend to them afterwards. Alrighty, floor is yours.
All right, hey everybody. So I'm gonna speak a little bit about how to grow and sustain a profitable doula business. So I am Lorraine. I spent most of my life living between Sayreville and Perth Amboy, New Jersey. I currently live in Bayonne, and both my parents are entrepreneurs. My mom, she's from Dominican Republic. My stepdad, his parents immigrated from Cuba. And if any of you have come from an immigrant family yourself, you may know that often a lot of times opportunities aren't given to us, so we go and create our own opportunities. So I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. I always knew that I wanted my own business, but I really didn't know what I wanted my business to be in. So I went to college. I got my bachelor's degree in psychology and criminal justice, a minor in neuroscience. And after I got my degree, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I got pregnant. So this is my favorite pregnancy picture over here. So I thought it was like the perfect timing. I was like, now I have 9 months to do nothing and figure out what I want to do with my career. I had my daughter in December of 2017. And while I was laying in bed in the postpartum room after my daughter was born, I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna get my master's in public administration. So I submitted my application for Rutgers while I was in the hospital, and I got accepted like a week later. And I started my master's program when I was 4 weeks postpartum. So I was doing that. And by the way, so my pregnancy was horrible. Childbirth was horrible. My postpartum period was horrible. I was so stressed because I had a newborn baby. I was doing a master's program at the same time, and I was working full time. I remember being like so depressed, crying, and I was just like Googling, like, why am I so miserable right now? And then I found out about like doulas, and I was just like, holy moly, like there's a whole field of people, like a career that they give women support or birthing people support, the support that I wish that I had when I was pregnant, when I was in labor, when I was in the postpartum period. Like I said, I was getting my master's degree in public administration, and I sort of like changed gears to like focus on I was like, all right, if anything, like I might have a career in like, what do you call it? Like healthcare reform, do like healthcare administration. But then I started a postpartum doula training program, and I sort of liked it. So I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna be a doula. So I finished my master program in like 1.5 years. And who the hell wants to work full time, especially if you have a baby? Not me. So I thought that starting my doula business was the perfect thing for me to do. And here's my daughter, Eliana. If any of y'all were wondering how my baby came out, since the previous picture was my pregnancy picture. So yeah. So I always say that being able to provide doula services is a gift that keeps on giving. So the love and the nurturance and the support and the compassion that I provide other families in turn gives me money so that I could support the family of my own. So when I started my doula business, it was in the middle of the pandemic. I wasn't working, and I was in an extremely abusive and toxic relationship that I wanted to get out of. Like I said, I didn't have a job. I had no money. And I don't know, I guess I just I knew that I needed like a quick way to get out of the situation that I was in. So I started my doula business, and I didn't get my first client until maybe like 6 months after I started my doula business. But once I got my first client, I got booked like maybe a month after that. I was booked like 4 or 5 months out. I think I got my first client in like May of 2020 or 2021. And by like that July, I was already booked throughout like January. And there wasn't one time, I never gave anybody a discounted rate. I never did any work for free, simply because I wasn't in a space to be able to afford doing so. Like I said, I was in a household that I didn't want to be in. I needed money quick, and it worked out. Maybe like 5 months after I started my doula business, I was able to move out of the household and relationship I was in before. I got a brand new 3-bedroom apartment for me and my daughter. I was able to pay full price by myself for her daycare, for her preschool. And I was able to put myself in a completely different financial situation that I was in before. And I feel that's something that, even though anybody could be a doula, most doulas are often women. And I feel like a lot of times women, they rely on other people for so much, whether it's finances, whatever. And even if you don't need, like if you're a doula, you're a part-time doula, and you don't need the finances that you make it a doula to live day to day, I think like the one thing that COVID taught us is like literally your whole life could change in the blink of the eye. So even if you're a stay-at-home parent and you do doula work as a hobby and your husband is the main provider. Your husband could be the most amazing, loving, supportive partner in the world, but anything could happen and he could be gone tomorrow. And if he's gone tomorrow, do you have the proper finance to set up so that you can continue taking care of yourself, so you can continue taking care of your family? Which is why I am super big on women, doulas, especially women, to just have things in place, to have their business set up so they can have a profitable business, so their business could sustain. So you guys could continue to take care of your family and do what you gotta do. So I always say, don't spread yourself thin trying to be a superhero in someone else's life while you're neglecting your own. So as caretakers, whether you're a doula or a social worker, I know a lot of you work in social services. We do a lot of things to help other people, and often we get burnt out, we get exhausted, making sure that other people are being taken care of. But what about ourselves? Spend so much time taking care of other people, who's taking care of us? So something to just keep in mind. So how can we set boundaries as doula to prevent burnout, that we could continue doing the work that we love? So I think the main key to this is to charge clients for your services. So even if you have no physical experience supporting a birth or postpartum family, you're still skilled, you're still trained, and you're still valuable. So what are we saying about the value of doula work if our rate is $0? Or for attending a birth for 18 hours and we're charging $200. And not to say that you can't serve lower income clients. If you want to serve lower income clients, become a Medicaid provider. Take advantage of all the resources that the NJDLC has to offer you all. And if you practice in New Jersey and you're interested in becoming a Medicaid provider, definitely reach out to Shani or Danica or Jodi, and they could provide more information about that. But yeah. Is there anything else I want to talk about this? I don't think so. Oh, so I just want to give like a little bit of like context. So like my first client that I had, it was a postpartum client. The first rate that I gave her was like $30 an hour, and I secured her into a contract for like 150 hours. The second postpartum contract I got, I charged her 35 an hour. The third one I got, I charged 45 an hour. The fifth one, like I went up, like right now my rate's like about $50 to $55 an hour. But just, so I feel like the main thing with charging clients for your services is a lot of times we don't think that we're worth the money. So whatever rate that you come up with, you got to be able to like express it clearly, be confident in what you'll be able to provide, and just let them know like what it is. Because like I said, if you took the training, if you know the skills, everything that you have, like your knowledge, your wisdom, it is valuable. And there's people that are willing to pay money for it. If you don't want the money, that's a different story. But say your price, be like proud and confident about it. But if there's a family that they really need help and you're talking to them and you know that like you really want to support them, but your rates just aren't reasonable, you can work with them. So start high and then gradually go lower if necessary, but don't ever put yourself in a position where you're providing services to help other people, but those services are going to be neglecting yourself and your family. Because you could give other people a discount, but your mortgage isn't going to give you a discount. PSC&G isn't going to give you a discount. Capital One not going to give you a discount. So just make sure that you take care of yourself and you take care of your family before you take care of other people. So a doula charging a full competitive rate can impact their community more than a doula who uses a sliding scale. I remember when I first became a doula, I was speaking to this really big experienced doula, and I was telling her like, hey, I really want to become a doula. I want to help Black and brown women that look like me. I know there's so many of us that are dying on childbirth. I really want to help my people, but at the same time, I want to make money. So I don't know how I'm gonna have a lucrative career by helping people and by serving the population that I want to serve. And she's like, Lorraine, she is like, if you're a Black woman and you want to help other Black women, why are you assuming that all Black people are poor? And that was sort of like a wake-up call for me. And she was saying like, a lot of you know, she told me that Black women or Black birthing people are dying in childbirth regardless of their income. So if Black people are dying regardless of the income, she was like, are the lives of middle or upper class Black people, are their lives less important than poor Black people? Because they're just as likely to die. And she also told me, she was like, so instead of serving lower income people, she's like, if you continue to serve lower income people, it's just gonna continue the cycle of poverty. You're helping poor people, you're not making any money, you're gonna continue to be poor. She's like, how about, she's like, you could still serve Black people, but there are millions of Black people out there that have great jobs that could pay for your services. Set your full rate, charge people, make so much money that you could actually just like write a check to an organization that's actually gonna do something. But you're trying to be a superhero, helping 10 to 15 people a year at super low cost. That's really not helping anybody. So that was just sort of like, I don't know, a wake-up call for me. And I think that's something that all of you should keep in mind when meeting clients and charting them your rates. So I made a list of things for you to consider when setting your rates. So how much money do you spend on training and continuing education? The cost of liability insurance, never practice without it. Time spent acquiring new clients, creating posts, advertising them, responding to social media posts. The cost of social media marketing. Guys, like if you post something on Instagram or Facebook and you pay for an advertisement, I'll pay like $35 for them to show an advertisement over 6 days. With that $35, I'll get between like 10 to 15 inquiries. My average sale for a client is between $1,500 and $2,000. So keep that in mind, and my investment is only $35, and I'm getting between a $5,000 and $10,000 return after the $35. So Facebook and Instagram advertising is super, super helpful. Also, something to think about when it comes to social media marketing. Think about your target audience. So you could put demographics on Facebook. So I put, I want to serve Black women, Black people, women between the ages of 30 and 50. You could put their interests. I want them to be interested in the stock market, finances, cryptocurrency. Just because my rates are a little bit like more expensive than like a lot of other doulas in our community. So I just wanted to target an audience that I know aren't going to try to haggle me for my prices, that could afford my services. And it works. Like I said, like I'll run an ad and I'll get so many inquiries within that week. Anyways, if you want to talk more about that, you could call or email me later. So include the cost of any subscription to help with your business. QuickBooks, Calendly, Squarespace, GoDaddy, literally anything that goes into your business, you want to return on your investment. We don't work for free. Cost of childcare when you're with a client, the time that you spend with your clients, the time that you spend on call. Even so, being a doula isn't an average job. It's not like you're working in the office like 9 to 5. We can't work 5 days a week. There's a lot of time that we're at home waiting for a client to give birth that we're not physically working, but we should still be compensated for that time. And most importantly, what's the amount of money that you need to live a comfortable life? So let's say if you have $4,000 in bills every month, so would you rather look for 5 clients that you could charge $800 each, or find 2 clients that you charge $2,000? So I feel like if you charge a higher amount, you're making more money or the same amount of money, but less work. Also, people often think that lowering your prices will help you get more clients. It's actually the opposite. Well, a lot of people, when they see very low prices, they assume that the person's inexperienced. And if I have money to spend, or if I want a service, if I'm pregnant and I'm anxious because I fear that like many Black women, that I'm gonna give birth and I'm gonna die in childbirth or in the period after. Like, I don't care how much money I'm spending, like as long as it's reasonable. I want somebody to help alleviate my fear, to help reduce my anxiety. And I'm willing to pay whatever it is to make sure that I survive my childbirth, that my baby's gonna survive, and that we're being taken care of. So if I know that I want this, I want to feel confident, and somebody is like, oh, I'm offering a discount, only $300. I'm gonna think in my head, why the only $300? They must not know what they're doing. I'm gonna go look for somewhere else. So yeah, so if you have $4,000 in bills every month, would you rather feel exhausted and burnt out every week from the emotional, physical toll that doula work has on your body after working 40 hours a week? Or do you want to live a comfortable life working part-time because you set rates and schedules that allow flexibility in your life? So I always say, like, what's the point of starting your own business if you're still going to be underpaid, if you're still going to be miserable? So many people work a 9 to 5. They hate their job. They hate their boss. They're working long days. They're underpaid. So it's like, you know what? I'm going to start a business. So then they start a business and they're likely even more worse off. And they're not putting certain boundaries and structures in place so that they can provide themselves self-care so that their business is sustainable. So yeah, so also, would you rather have just enough money to get by every month or have enough left over for you to spend on your family, to donate to charity or church, or what else makes you happy? And also something that I included in here, which I spoke about earlier, is just having that financial freedom so that you're not depending on other people. And I don't know any of you or your household, how your household structure is set up, but it's absolutely amazing if you have other people in your family that you could depend on. But as I also mentioned, we don't know how long they're going to be there. So we want to be able to be in a position where no matter what happened, if our complete household situation changes next week, we're still going to be good. Our kids are going to be good. The rent or the mortgage is still going to be paid. So yeah, so you deserve a livable wage and more. So between doctors, nurses, midwives, even the patient care technicians, doulas are often the lowest paid person in the birth room. And between all these people, you never see doctors working for free. You don't see nurses working for free. You don't see literally nobody works for free but doulas that choose to work for free. And charging a competitive rate for your services, it doesn't make you any less kind. It doesn't make you any less empathetic. It doesn't make you any less compassionate. It makes you a professional that's setting boundaries. And that's something to keep in mind. So when creating your doula business, is this a business or is it a hobby? Is it something that you're doing to pass time, or is it something that you're trying to build a career out of? That do you want to have a nice savings account? Do you want to be able to take care of your kids, live in a nice neighborhood? I don't know, whatever your financial goals are or whatever you have planned for you in your life. Sort of what Jodi was saying before. If you have a business, what do you have envisioned for yourself in the business? And the good thing about being a doula is that most of the time you're your own boss. There's no need to ask for a raise. You can just give it to yourself. So if one day you can have one client, you could charge them $1,000. You could say to yourself, you know what? Next client, I'm gonna charge them $2,000. And you can, because it's your business and nobody's telling that you can. So if you want to raise your prices, go ahead and do it because you deserve it. So yeah, follow me on social media. So if you want more business tips on Twitter and Instagram, my name is Lola Doula. And I also have a doula agency page, that's Repose Birth Services on Instagram. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. That was absolutely wonderful. I kind of wish we could keep going. But we are out of time, like we're just about. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to type your questions in the chat or raise your hands or just come off mute. Okay, Francis asked, do you charge a high amount because you think you deserve it or because your services are worth that amount?
Both, absolutely. So first, like I said, I deserve it and my services are worth the amount. Everything they do, I'm confident about it. Even if a client called me, they're like, hey, I'm looking for a doula for a couple of days. I need some support with breastfeeding. I'm having these issues. Can you help me? I'm like, sure. I might not know how to help that client in that moment, but I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna find out. I do my research, I watch my YouTube videos, I speak to my colleagues, I get the information that I need to know. And I make sure when I meet with a client that I go above and beyond and I give them 120% of what they paid for. And I think no one should ever, no matter what you're selling, you should be confident in what you do. So if you don't feel confident with your prices, or if you don't feel confident about the quality of work that you could provide, then I I would improve my skills before I start selling it, because as Jodi also mentioned, word of mouth is real, and people could say amazing things about you, or they could say horrible things about you, and your reputation is everything. Are there any other questions?
If there are no other questions, we're just going to close. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate each and every one of your attendance. Thank you, Lorraine, Jodi, and Cristina. Feel free to, I know you shared your information in the slides, but if you could drop them in the chat so people can see them.
Don't end the whole call yet. I want to go through all the messages. I'm taking my time.
Of course. For those of you that have to go, definitely stay tuned for our December Lunch and Learn. Subscribe to our newsletter. I put the link tree and our contact information in the chat. Thank you again for being here. And enjoy the rest of your days.
Thanks, Shani.
Thanks.
Bye.
Jodi. Great call today.
Thanks, Shani.
Thank you, ladies. Hey, Lorraine, I'll be calling you.
Is that you, Ashley?
Yes, it is me.
Okay, give me a call whenever.
Okay, bye-bye.
Shani, you're funny. Reading your message.
No, like that's really how I was feeling. I was like, oh.
Thank you, Lorraine. That was amazing. Super, super informative. And thank you, Jodi, and also Cristina. It's good to meet you and see you. And thank you, thank you, thank you.